Alright, welcome back to Absolute Beginner's Blues Guitar. These lessons are designed to help you get started playing blues guitar if you know nothing. And so far we've gone through basic setup of the guitar, the strings, the frets, and we learned the first chord, which was an E chord. Hopefully you're going to practice that and get to where you can play it cleanly and take your hand off, put it back on again. And that's what I wanted you to do. We talked about the fact that your hand is going to hurt for a while. It's going to take a while for your hand to learn the muscles in your hand, to learn all these new movements and positions, and for your hand to get strong. One thing you often read about is where do you put your thumb on your left hand? And you get all kinds of textbooks that tell you, where to put your thumb, like right on the back of the neck or something like that. If you're going to play blues, especially acoustic blues, it's a good idea to get used to your thumb being available. By being available, I mean being up, not on the back of the neck like that, but being up ready to fret a string, which it's going to do. And so I practice that. To me, there's no exact right way of doing this, correct way. You practice, start playing, and whatever's comfortable for you. Same deal goes for picking. And when you're holding the pick and strumming the strings, you've just got to mess with that until you get comfortable doing it. The basic gist of picking we'll talk about here in a little bit, but that's something we'll wait for. Let's just get the chords down first and continue learning our way around the guitar. Now our first chord is an E. Now there's something called chord progressions. If you're brand new to music and guitar, a chord progression in my simple mind is simply a group of chords that you can play together, and they make up a song. So I'm going to teach you the first three chords are going to be three very basic chords that we will use to learn a song. The worst thing you can do when you learn an instrument is never learn how to play anything. Just learn ideas, and you want to start playing as soon as possible. So my goal for this first lesson is to get you being able to start messing around with playing some kind of song. To do that, if you want to play a progression, you got to learn at least 2-3 chords or so. There are some songs that just stay on one chord, especially in blues. But we're going to move toward the 3 chords. So the E, second chord that's really common that you need to learn is an A chord. And an A chord, there are many different ways of playing this, several different ways, basically in the same area. I'm going to start you out with this one, which is just one version. Another way to play it, which might even be easier for you, is just by taking one finger. But for acoustic blues, you want to learn how to play it a couple different ways. Electric, you can get away with this one. So let's just learn the simpler one first. Take your first finger, and that's your strong finger, and put that on the 2nd fret, and you're going to flatten it out and get the 4th, 3rd, and 2nd strings. You're also going to strum the open 5th string. And there's an A chord. So 5th, 4th, 3rd, 2nd. That is an A chord, one finger chord. Now the other way you can play this is by using 3 fingers. Putting your first finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, your 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string, and your ring finger on the 2nd fret of the 2nd string. That's how I learned it when I first learned guitar, was to play it like that. So you can play it with one finger, 3 fingers staggered, or some people play it like this, where you've got your first finger on the 3rd string and your 2nd finger on the 4th string and your ring finger again on the 2nd string. Those are 3 different ways to play your basic A chord. You use whichever one works for you. So let's start out with the basic, with the one finger. Same rule applies, learning the chord. First of all, you got to know where to put the finger, so practice taking it off, putting it on, and then practice picking. And I would just try to pick one string at a time. Make sure each one sounds clean, and then strum the whole thing. Just take your pick and kind of drag it down the string. practice holding the pick and then maybe picking one string at a time. When you do a lot of single string picking with the flat pick, a lot of times you use upstrokes, downstrokes, alternating. So maybe downstroke on the open A, upstroke on the D string, the 4th string, downstroke on the next one, upstroke. And practice different combinations: downstroke, downstroke, upstroke, downstroke. You'll try different ways and just get your fingers comfortable up here with the left hand, but then try to work on the right hand too, learning how to pick the guitar and pick the string you want to pick. And then eventually you can do it without looking at it. Just get comfortable. So that is the second chord. And try it all 3 ways and see which one works for you the best. So same thing, practice that chord, on, off, put it on, pick individual strings, strum the whole thing, off, do it again. And again, if it sounds bad, if it sounds like that, that means your fingers aren't in the right places. You got to check your fingers. Look up there on the guitar and see where your finger is and try to identify which fingers aren't pressing down on the strings properly, or which fingers are too close to the frets, whatever the case may be. Also make sure the string is in the center, the meat of your fingertip. Now when you do this A chord, you're kind of using the flat of the finger. Again, you've got to make sure that your finger is getting all the strings. If it's getting 2 of them but not getting the 3rd one, then that 3rd one won't sound good and you'll lose the beauty of the chord. So there is another beginner's chord to get started on, and some other beginner picking ideas. Now we're going to do the last chord, which is a little tougher, but this is the final chord in our first progression that we're going to use to try to start learning some simple songs. It's called a B7. B as in baby, and the 7th note, and we'll talk about what that means a little bit later. Sounds like this. Now you might be asking, why don't we learn a B chord? Why a B7th chord? Because the B7th has a different sound that you hear so often in acoustic and electric blues. Listen to the difference. Here's a B7. Here's a plain old B chord. I'll play it as a bar chord. B chord, B7. B7's a little more rich on the acoustic guitar especially. So here's how we do it. First finger is going to go on the 1st fret of the 4th string. My second finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 5th string, which just so happens to be a B note. And we'll talk about the notes on the guitar as we go through. And then my 3rd finger is going to go on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. And then my pinky is going to go on the 1st string, 2nd fret. So if I strum through, I've got an open 2nd string, and I'm not strumming the 6th string. It sounds like this. Doesn't work. So you got to start with the 5th string. It's a B7. So again, take your hand off, try to put it on again, and just remember the chord. You may have to place one finger at a time for a while until you learn it. And then once you learn the chord, you want to practice it by itself, taking the hand off, putting it on, taking it off, putting it on, picking the strings, strumming until it sounds good. When you can consistently put your fingers on the chord and have it sound the way it should, then you're on your way to learning the chord.